Call to order this special meeting of the Ojai Planning Commission for Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Sherry, could we have a roll call, please?
Chair Quillisi,
Here?
Vice Chair Nolan,
Here.
Commissioner Lottis,
Here.
Commissioner Trent,
Here.
Commissioner Swift.
Here.
Thank
Great.
you.
So we're all present and we have a quorum. James, if you could give us a flag. There we go. And how about John Trent? Would you take us through the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
You got it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
United States of America,
To America.
to the Republic,
To the Republic.
For which it stands,
Stands
nation,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, liberty,
liberty, and
and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Next on the agenda is public communications. Lucas or Sherry, have we received any public communications for this meeting?
We have not.
Okay, very good. We'll move on. Then the discussion item, Planning Commission to take action through a vote on whether to appeal Director's Exemption DE 20-009 to a scheduled and publicly noticed public hearing under Ohio Municipal Code 10-2.3004 regarding the installation of a refrigerator in the Ojai Village Pharmacy to allow the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption. That pharmacy located at 202 East Ojai Avenue. Lucas, if you and Nikhil would take us through first the case and then the ground rules for tonight's meeting, because this is a special meeting and it's dealing with a potential appeal. So the things that we can and can't do and the things that we can and can't discuss are going to be unique to this sort of meeting.
Sure, absolutely. And Nikhil, if you don't mind, I've got a fairly simple, straightforward PowerPoint presentation I'd like to kind of walk through here. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen. And there we go. Everybody see that?
yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right, perfect. So good evening, commissioners. My name is Lucas Seibert, Community Development Manager here with the City of Ojai. The item before you tonight is, and this is a special Planning Commission meeting for the consideration of a director's exemption, as Chair Quillisi had mentioned previously. Director's exemption that was approved by myself on August 28th. That director's exemption allows for a 15-day appeal period, that period ending on September 14th. This 15-day appeal period is consistent with all director's exemptions that are issued by myself, by the Community Development Manager. For this one specifically, it's the site itself is located within the C1 zoning district. Within this zoning district, alcohol sales are a permitted use. The director's exemption itself applies to a specific section of the code as it relates to a change in the use of an existing commercial building. This commercial building happens to be the Ojai Village Pharmacy, located at 202 East Ojai Avenue. That change in use constituting the requirement for additional parking. The approval that was issued through the director's exemption allows for a refrigerator occupying approximately 45 square feet of the existing floor space area. The floor space area for that tenant space is roughly 2,500 square feet. And that's located within the existing area of the Ojai Village Pharmacy. Not an increase in square footage, but occupying existing square footage. The refrigerator area, as a percentage of the overall square footage, is less than 2% of the pharmacy and gift shop total area. And then pursuant to the policy, which is the policy 6.4, which I know we've talked about on a couple different occasions, references an appeal of the director's exemption. Now, with that appeal, it's really a two-step process in terms of how we're looking at this. The first step was undertaken on September 2nd, last week, at last week's Planning Commission hearing. The PC of the Planning Commission took the first step towards the appeal with at least 2 members of the Planning Commission. I believe we had a straw poll of 4 requesting consideration through a vote of this Planning Commission appeal. The second step regarding this is the matter has to be scheduled for a special Planning Commission meeting vote on the matter. That's what we're here for tonight. And the commission at tonight's meeting is to vote solely on whether to appeal the matter or the director's exemption based on the record, which includes the director's exemption, the information that was provided in the packet, as well as the findings provided within the director's exemption itself. If appealed, the matter, director's exemption, will be scheduled for a noticed Planning Commission hearing sometime in the very near future, whether that be a special hearing or a regularly scheduled matter. And that concludes my presentation regarding this. I think it's important there we go. I think it's important to identify that this is a two-step process. The first step was undertaken on what was undertaken last week during the regularly scheduled Planning Commission hearing. This is the second phase to set an appeal regarding this matter. The merits of this matter aren't to be deliberated tonight. We're looking for a vote from the commission at this point.
And just to add to that, so basically the ground rules here, I mean, are straightforward. As Lucas said, this is not a hearing on the merits. In keeping with what the code requires, what this is really is a chance for the commission to decide whether this matter needs to be heard by the full commission in a full public hearing. And so when you're making your vote here, what you're considering, and I would ask you to please consider whether you have concerns with the applicable findings necessary to approve the director's exemption in this case, or whether there's evidence in the record to support the director's exemption. But because this isn't a full notice public hearing, this is not the forum to, I guess, articulate such concerns, but rather consider whether you have them or not when you make your vote. And that's the important point, is that it's not a public hearing, and we haven't noticed it as a public hearing. And so the other point I would make is that, and now speaking from a legal perspective, when in deciding whether to appeal this to a vote, a full commission hearing, is that it's defensible to call for an appeal if the concern is whether proper findings have made or whether there's inadequate evidence in the record to support the Lucas's decision in this case. However, and again, speaking as wearing my lawyer hat here, I'm always wearing my lawyer hat, but it's less defensible, I think, to call up the matter for appeal simply over a policy concern. And that's, and because what we do here in this special session or special commission meeting, and then perhaps a future appeal hearing, is part of what will be eventually a record if this were to get litigated or so forth. And so I would just wanted to point those two things out, is that it's not a hearing on the merits. It's simply a hearing to consider whether to put this to a vote, and it's not necessarily a public forum because we haven't noticed a public hearing here.
Okay. So,
Okay. Can I say something?
please do.
I might have put. So, are you saying that? So, yes, I do have problems with the the general plan consistency and the findings. In addition, I have a problem with application of the zoning code because there is a mix of uses here that we're talking about. We're not talking about an alcoholic beverage use, period, like a standalone. We're talking about a mix of uses. And so what you're saying, I think, Nikhil, we can't really get into this. And so you're saying that I can't really articulate my thoughts on why the general plan consistency is not there, and also the zoning inconsistency. I disagree with a number of points in the staff report, but I think you're saying that I have to articulate that later if we were to vote to appeal. Is that correct?
Right. At a notice public hearing, that would be discussed. But this is simply just to set the public hearing. The code, as Lucas explained, has this two-step process. And so we called the special meeting, It
makes it a little difficult if nobody knows why anybody else is voting for or not for the appeal. Anyway, it's like, I feel like I'm like, in a black hole here in a way, but I understand what you're saying.
So Lucas, I have a quick question. What triggered the exemption in the first place? Was it
the director's exemption, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. So
are we getting back into deliberation of
that's actually
matter itself?
This
is what we have to be careful not to do here.
Yeah, I mean, the trigger, if you look at the merits of the director's exemption that was provided, it walks you through the justification, the sections that are specifically applicable regarding this matter. And that's what I would turn to at this point. We can't necessarily get into the deliberation, as Nikhil had mentioned earlier. This meeting tonight, this special planning commission meeting, is to consider whether to have that appeal. It's assumed that all commissioners have read the agenda report, have read the director's exemption, have read that policy that we provided, and can make a judgment call tonight based on those merits. We aren't to sit here and to deliberate those merits tonight. Yeah.
That's all good. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So the question before the commission is, do we, as a commission, wish to have a publicly noticed public hearing to discuss the director's exemption in this case? And I'm not sure, Nikhil, do we need a motion in that sense and a vote, or how do we go about this?
So you would need a motion in this case to discuss it. If you look in Ojai Municipal Code, 10-23002 subsection C, and then the policy 6.4, which I believe are both of those a reference in the packet, Lucas?
6.4 is referenced in the packet. I believe we provided that.
Yes.
So the commission majority has to vote to appeal the matter.
Okay.
Article 30 was provided as well.
Yeah.
Am I allowed, as a member, am I allowed to ask a question? No, that's not legal.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Can I ask a question? I mean, is this, is the administrative report, I was assuming it was posted on the website. Is it not on the city website?
I'll defer to Lucas on that one.
Yes, it is posted on the website.
Posted.
Yes.
So is
Yes.
it, so if I were a member of the public who regularly checks the city website and I had a question, would I be allowed to ask it?
This is a special council meeting, so you're allowed to make public comment. It's not a public hearing, though. So you're allowed to make public comment as a member of the public. Not, yeah.
Okay, so just as a member of the public, if I were reading the recommendations, I would wonder what is meant by take action through, number 2, take action through a vote, whether to appeal the matter with the members of the planning commission taking no position on the merits in the vote. So to me, that means that if the commission votes to move forward, that does not mean, it just means that they're voting to move forward in order to discuss it. It doesn't mean that they've decided anything. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
The vote tonight is strictly whether or not to have another meeting in a noticed public hearing on this issue. So is there a motion to be voted on?
Yes, I will make a motion that we approve an appeal to the Planning Commission of the director exemption for design review permit DE 20-009 to install a refrigerator in the Ojai Village Pharmacy to allow for off-site sales of beer and wine. And I would suggest that there are issues of concentration of this kind of use based on factual information.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Oh, sorry. So, okay.
Sorry.
the motion to have another meeting is appropriate. Beyond that, it's not.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Correct.
All right. I'll just make the motion. It's just very hard to. It's really hard to make a motion and not explain the reason. But I'm making the motion.
I presume the reason for the motion is that you want to have another meeting on this matter.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And you meant off-site consumption, not off-site sales.
Called off-site sales, I think.
But it's actually on-site sales with off-site consumption. I think there was a minor mistake.
I was reading from the title here. So it's a license for what exactly? It's a license for off sale, I believe.
Off-site sales for off-site consumption.
But isn't it on-site sale? Because they're selling it.
I think so. Yeah.
On site is like your restaurants and bars.
That's on-site consumption.
Could someone, staff, maybe explain that to me? Because I was assuming that off-site meant outside of the confines of the pharmacy.
That's correct.
Maybe it's the terminology that I'm not understanding correctly.
On-site sales with off-site consumption.
Lucas,
Okay,
the ABC application states it as off sale. It's ABC's application that we
Off
were
sale.
using
They
that
do
word.
word it a little bit awkwardly.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
we worded it based on the ABC application.
So the state did it to us.
Yeah.
But essentially it means they're going to be selling it at the pharmacy and it's going to be consumed outside of the
Outside
pharmacy.
the pharmacy.
But the actual terms that they legally uses, they call it off-site. Okay, I just want to be clear on
Off
that.
sale. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, just to make sure I'm clear. So we're strictly voting on whether or not we take this to another meeting to support the appeal or not, correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
Another question, if we decide to move forward with the appeal, is the applicant required, other than what they've already submitted with the director's exemption at this point in time, are they required to do a whole nother DRP submittal? Or how does that work? No. So basically it's just appealing what you said, and then we would move forward from whatever we come up with at that meeting.
Right. It would be the information that we have currently in hand.
But as a maker of the motion, I really feel that there is substantial justification.
You can't.
I can't say that?
Oh,
All you can say is, I want to have another meeting. That's what this vote is about.
right. You're,
Okay.
All the rest of it is deliberation on the merits of the
we're
case.
not discussing the merits of the
Okay.
Another meeting.
Okay, and the applicant can attend if it was appealed, the applicant would presumably be at that meeting then.
It's a public hearing.
Yep.
Okay, so it's just a public hearing. They're not going to be out any more money. They don't have to do a resubmittal, et cetera.
They have to appear. I mean, they'll likely appear. That'll
That's
be
what it is. Okay. All right, I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second
I'll third.
for discussion of the motion, which is to have another meeting. Seeing none, Sherry, could we have a roll call, please?
Chair Quillisi,
No?
Vice Chair Nolan,
Yes?
Commissioner Lottis,
Yes.
Commissioner Swift,
Yes.
Commissioner Trent.
No.
Motion passes.
Passes 3-2. Okay. And next on the official agenda is adjournment. But Lucas, you were saying that, or maybe it was Nikhil was saying, we could informally discuss other matters at this point. Is that correct?
You're talking about matters as it relates to the code or even the policy itself, or matters as it relates to potentially identifying dates that would work for the hearing.
I think it might be appropriate, if it's legal, to discuss dates that are possible for this. The first thing that we have to consider is the noticing period, which is 10 days prior in a local newspaper.
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple dates that I was thinking about that could potentially work for that. One would be a special meeting on September 30th. That's a Wednesday. That would potentially be the same time, 6 o'clock. The other date would be our regularly scheduled meeting, which would be October 7th. Once again, a 6 p.m. Meeting time, start time.
I would be in favor if we get to
I was gonna say the challenge.
October 7th.
Yeah, the challenge is we couldn't do the 23rd. There's not enough notice time. It would have to have been in the paper.
Yeah, notice for a public hearing.
Is today. Yeah, it would have been today.
the 10-day period is triggered by the public notice. So we're not, even though we could have a special meeting, we still need to have the 10-day notice because of the public hearing. That's the trigger for that.
Right.
We need to give the 10 days notice.
Can we do it on the October 7th? I believe that's the date you suggested.
That would be one of the dates that I suggested. The 30th would be a special meeting date, but that would be a publicly noticed meeting. So it would have been 10 days prior to that date.
Yeah.
As a minimum.
Any thoughts, commissioners, on when we should have this meeting?
I said this October 7th. That's my,
Yeah, I would go for the 7th. I mean, the use is not in place. It's it's not like it's a real emergency, and I would recommend the 7th also.
John or Jake, any feelings either way?
I'm good with the 7th.
7th is fine.
Okay, I think we have a consensus on the 7th then, Lucas.
All right.
Nikhil, is there any other business properly before the commission?
No. We've gone through the agenda outline. So we are.
Okay,
Everything else is
having finished the agenda then, I will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.